You know that old saying, no risk, no reward, right? Especially when you're talking about investing. But what if there was a product out there that promised the best of both worlds? Something that gave you the growth of the market, but with a safety net that protects you when things go south. Well, that's the big promise of Indexed Universal Life, or IUL. It's complicated, it's definitely controversial, and today we're going to pull back the curtain and see if that promise actually holds up.
So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll talk about the big problem these things are trying to solve. Then, we'll get into what an IUL actually is. After that, we'll look under the hood at how it grows, explore the big tax benefits, uncover the major risks, and trust me, there are some big ones. And finally, we'll help you figure out if an IUL might actually be a good fit for you.
You know, I think every investor has felt this. You watch your retirement accounts go up, but there's always that little voice in the back of your head, that nagging fear. What if the market crashes and wipes out years of hard work? We all crave some kind of predictability, some control over our financial future, but what the market usually gives us is, well, chaos.
And that leads to this question, which is really the holy grail for a lot of people. Imagine if you could harness all the power of a bull market, but then when the bears show up, you're totally protected from any of the losses. I mean, it sounds a little too good to be true, doesn't it? Well, that's exactly the proposition we're digging into today.
One source we looked at had this fantastic analogy. It said, imagine walking into a casino and asking, hey, do you guys have a no-loss table? A table where you get to keep all your winnings, but if you have a losing hand, you just get your money back. Your immediate reaction would be, wait, why wouldn't everybody do that? And the answer, as we're about to see, is that this isn't free money. It's a very, very specific kind of trade-off.
Okay, so let's get right into it and define our terms. What exactly is an IUL?
At its heart, an IUL is a type of permanent life insurance. So yes, it has a death benefit. But the part we're focused on is its cash value account. Now, the magic phrase here is linked to. The growth of your cash value is linked to an index, say the S&P 500. But, and this is critical, your money is never actually in the stock market. That separation is what makes the whole thing work.
And this slide really gets to the core of the deal you're making. If you invest directly in the market, the sky's the limit on your gains. But there's also no floor. You can lose it all. With an IUL, you agree to a ceiling on your potential gains, which is called the cap rate. In exchange for giving up those massive home run years, you get a floor, which is almost always set at 0%. The market can crash 40% and you lose nothing. Your principal is protected.
So if your money isn't technically in the market, how in the world does it grow? Okay, let's look under the hood, because the mechanics are where it gets really interesting. This is how a kind of meh year in the market can sometimes turn into a really fantastic return inside the policy.
Here are the different levers that can get pulled to boost your returns. We've already talked about the 0% floor, which is your safety net, and the cap rate, which is the ceiling. But check out these other two. Some policies have what's called a participation rate that can actually be more than 100%. And on top of that, some have multiplier bonuses that give you an extra kick on the interest you've already been credited.
Okay, so that's the growth engine. But beyond that, the other massive draw for IULs, and honestly, the main reason a lot of people even consider them, is their special treatment under the US tax code.
Just look at this comparison. An IUL kind of cherry-picks some of the best features of other retirement accounts and puts them all together. Like a Roth IRA, you can get tax-free income. But unlike a 401k or a Roth, there are no contribution limits, which is huge for high-income earners. And you get that market protection we talked about. Plus, there are no required minimum distributions when you get older.
So how does the tax-free part actually work? Well, your cash value grows tax-deferred. Then, when you're ready to use it in retirement, you take out loans against that cash value. And because they're structured as loans, they typically don't count as taxable income. This can create a really powerful, predictable stream of tax-free retirement income, which is amazing for tax diversification.
All right, growth without the loss and tax-free income. It all sounds pretty perfect, doesn't it? But, and this is a huge but, an IUL is not a magic bullet. We have to talk about the catches, the really significant costs and risks that can completely wreck this entire strategy if you're not careful.
These right here are the landmines. Underfunding is probably the #1 killer of these policies. If you don't put enough money in, the costs and fees will eat your cash value alive. This is also a long-term game. Don't even think about it if you need this money in less than 10 or 15 years. And, of course, you have to pick a good company and be really careful not to accidentally overfund it and trigger that last point, becoming a mech.
So what is a mech?
Well, a modified endowment contract is what happens when you fund a life insurance policy with too much money, too quickly, according to IRS rules. If your policy gets slapped with this MEC designation, it loses its favorable tax treatment. All those tax-free loans we talked about, gone. It basically destroys one of the main reasons for getting the policy in the first place.
And this brings us to what might be the single most important takeaway about the risks. The biggest danger with an IUL isn't a stock market crash. Remember, you're protected from that. The real threat comes from inside the policy itself. From it being designed poorly, from high costs, or from funding it the wrong way, causing the whole thing to work against you.
Okay, so let's put all this together. We've got the good, the bad, and the pretty complex. So, who's the right person for an IUL? Who does this actually make sense for?
This is a pretty good breakdown. An IUL might be a good fit for you if you've already maxed out your other retirement accounts like your 401k and IRA. It's often for high-income earners who want another bucket of tax-free money and who have a long time to let it grow. On the other hand, you should probably avoid an IUL if you haven't even taken advantage of your company's 401k match. That's free money, go get that first. Or if you think you'll need this cash anytime soon, or if you're really just chasing the highest possible market returns and you're okay with the risk.
Ultimately, it really all boils down to this one question that you have to ask yourself. An IUL is a story of trade-offs. You're trading away the chance for unlimited gains and simplicity in exchange for downside protection and some powerful tax advantages. For the right person, in the right situation, it can be a fantastic tool. But the price you pay for all that predictability is complexity and a long-term commitment.